Okay, so for this tutorial, I'm actually going to show you how to do some nice red skin. And you can see it's got some like hints of, it's a red base, but it's got some hints of orange, some purples in there. And it's actually really easy to do. I recommend this for pink. This is my version of Pink Horrors, but you can do it with Tzaangors, which is what I'm going to do the tutorial on. But if you don't do too much purple, it actually works really well for Demons of Khorne as well. So here I'm going to show you, that's one of the Pink Horrors, but I'm going to show you on Magnus. That's actually what I used it on first. So you can see his like muscle tone, and I wish I could show you his abs, but his collarbone is actually pretty good. And then you can highlight like I did on this shoulder. You can kind of see it past the spirit hosts. I don't really have another arm to show you. Maybe the back of this hand. No, the lighting isn't good for that. But yeah, that's kind of the idea, especially around the collarbone. That's what we're going to be doing. Alright, so I got these Tzaangors. I'm actually going to do this in a bunch of different layers, but I had actually previously recorded this, but the lighting was horrible, so I'm doing it again. So I'm actually going to use, for the first layer, this is going to be Zaria's Purple for the shadows. I already got it pre-mixed. But it's over a base coat of Wazdaka Red, also from Games Workshop. So I'm just going to go like that. Try to make sure it's like a light misting. You can see I've done it before already. But I'm going to do it in just places that I want shadows. So I'm going to do it, see if I can do it so that you can see. I'm going to do it like underneath, right by these shoulders there. Nice thing about organics is, see right, that just like that. The nice thing about organics is it doesn't have to be perfect. There's a lot of wiggle room, whereas pinning like a tank or something, you wouldn't have quite as much. Nice thing with this is you just focus on the shadows. Don't worry, we're going to do another highlight to bring that up. I actually got my airbrush clogged. Just a dry tip from doing so much airbrushing. It's nice that I've been airbrushing long enough to know what's what. So the other shoulder here, there we go. And then I'm going to do like the back of the knees. And then a lot of them will have organic horns. You can do the tips of the horns under the armpit. This is just to add a little definition to the model. There we go. Like you can kind of see where I'm going for. Like it simulates the shadow, so without actually having to go in and like really layer it. But that's it for this part. I'll come back in with another color in just a second, and we'll do a highlight. Alright, now that I got all of these painted with that purple shadow, I'm actually going to do the first highlight. Now the first highlight is this model, or Game Air Bloody Red from Vallejo. It's actually a really nice red paint. It's kind of like a reddish orange, you can see it. I got that in my airbrush already. Let me get that started. Now I'm going to do this on all the raised areas, so especially the neck here, it catches light really nicely. There we go, just like that. And you see how that blends in? It's perfect. So I'm going to do that on all the raised areas that I like. Alright, just make sure you don't overdo it like I almost did there. A little goes a long way. Maybe a little in the face. The top of the bicep and stuff here. Little on the chest. Of course, the legs. You want to get the legs, because they actually stand out pretty nicely. And the reason for that is it's a really great contrast to that purple. If it's not quite bright enough, you can always just go over and do a second layer. But we are actually going to brighten this up with another paint, so this is actually fine. And on these back shoulder plates, you get these a lot in not only these demons, but you get them in Pink Horrors, and you get them in Bloodletters as well. You can actually go right over that purple if you want to. Just try to be really careful. You don't want to get in any of the recesses, because then I'll get rid of that purple completely, but there you go. Just like that. And just like that. There we go. Now we got some muscle definition. So that's really all you got to do. And that's it for that one. I'll wait for that to dry, and I'll come back and I'll do the next highlight. Now the next highlight is actually going to be by hand. It's to pick out all the individual muscle definition, and it definitely adds to it. And it's kind of like an intro to glazing almost, but with an airbrush paint, because the paint is so thin and works so well with these colors. But that'll be here in just a second. Okay, let me see if I can grab the right one here. So I actually noticed, this was actually still drying, but I actually noticed there's one little thing you can add if you want to. Now I've got Game Air Alien Purple, which is pretty much Gene Stealer Purple from Games Workshop, so you can use either one. And it's just to add a little bit of a highlight on this purple here. I'm going to hold this like that so you can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm going to spray my hand a little bit on accident, but that's okay. There you go. Just adds that little bit of color. And then it's a nice blend between that dark purple and that lighter red. I'm just going to do that on both sides here. Oops. I'm holding that on my hand so I don't spray all the guys on the desk behind me. There we go. And then don't forget, if you're doing that, to go for the top. That's it. That just adds a little bit of color there, like you can see. That's great. I've done it here. Actually need to do it here, but it's great on the pink horrors as well, to add that little bit on the end if you wanted to, but it's really going to help bring out the color. Especially when it's on the tabletop, this is what you'll see most of the time, so it's a great little addition. But here in a second I'll get to that highlighting I was talking about earlier. Okay, for the highlight I've got some Vallejo Game Air Orange Fire. Now this is a really light orange. It's actually pretty thin right out of the bottle. I like it a lot to blend a lot of sharper colors like yellows. But for this I'm going to use it as a highlight. You might have to actually apply 2 or 3 layers of this in certain spots. But I like it because it doesn't overpower the other colors, the previous layers that we did. It'll just let me do a brighter color for some muscle tone and definition in places that I want without getting rid of everything else that I just worked on. So I've got a brush here and I got my mini, so I'm actually going to show you what I do. So wait a second. Okay, so I'm actually going to use this. I've got some on my brush here. Let me get a little more. It's actually so thin, but I'm going to do, you can see I'm doing a layer there. But it's actually going to brighten up whatever spots you put on it without overriding that color. And it's when it dries, I'm going to give it a minute, but when it dries, it's actually going to be really light. But not too light. Like, I'll keep painting this model and give you a better idea, or we'll come back in a minute and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's dried, because it's so thin when it dries it's not quite as bright as what it looks like now, but it's bright enough to where you can start seeing all the detail. So all the muscles and stuff, that's what I'm picking out. Nice thing is with a lot of these fleshy models from Games Workshop, they have really good lines for that sort of thing. So on the hands, on any of the bones in the legs, so anything like here and there is what you want. And then on the face, if you wanted to, you can probably do the whole face, because it'll brighten up the whole thing together. Like that. You can kind of see what I'm going for. It's already starting to brighten up, but yeah, it's just that extra bit of orange without being too powerful, if that makes any sense. But that's it. That's literally it. If you wanted to add some sort of pinks or anything to the horns, you totally could, doing just a bone with a wash, or starting with a dark brown and building up to the bone. You could, but that's really it for the skin. I just wanted to show how to do that dark red skin on here. It's not too complicated. It's just finding colors that blend together properly, that work nicely together. And I just got really lucky when I did Magnus the Red that I found a good scheme that tends to work. But that's it. You can see how that turned out. It looks pretty good. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.